Just quote, I'll watch Zoe Kravitz beat the pants off him.
And then you need like a picture, like a Photoshop picture of Zoe Kravitz like punching Anne Hathaway in the pants.
Just punch her in the butt cheek.
We would get a lot of views.
Gold. Gold.
Welcome everybody to this month's edition of the Nerd Enthusiast Movie Podcast. I'm Dane. I'll be your host today. And we got a couple people here. We got Mikey D as semi-usual. We got Tom. Yep, sorry. We stepped on my introduction of Tom.
What's going on, guys?
Okay. Tom. Tom from Collectibles and I'm sorry, what's the name of the show again?
Toys and Collectibles. We do the comic book shop.
Comic book shop. That's what I was trying to go with. Okay. So
comic book shop.
Yes.
Comic book.
Tom also, if you can tell behind him, seems to be a bit of a fan of The Dark Knight.
Just a little bit.
There's going to be a battle, a versus, so to speak, between Mike and Tom in this episode, but I don't think so.
Yes, there will be. No, I'm not a big DC guy, so he's gonna run circles around me, I think.
I'm not even a big DC guy, to be honest with you, just as Batman's there.
He makes a good Funko Pop.
He does.
Yeah,
nice.
He does.
All right, so we are going to talk about The Batman, the new movie that was just released about a week ago. We're about a week late, which sounds about right.
It's
for
our
us.
usual. It's our
Yeah,
usual.
pretty much. We are nothing if not topical on the movie podcast. We're gonna go over some of our impressions. We're gonna our Batman impressions, and we're gonna not spoil it for at least the first couple minutes. And then, by the way, there's gonna be a spoiler warning because we want to talk about the movie. We're gonna get a little bit of housekeeping here. If you have not already subscribed, please subscribe. We are on all of the social medias. Again, I'm not sure if we're on the Truth social app yet, but if not, just not go on it. It's fine. I don't think we're missing anything. Nobody's on it anyway. So let's actually kick in a little bit here. So the brand new The Batman movie, starring Robert Pattinson. Help me out, Mike. Pattinson.
I mean, I think it's like Pattinson. You just say it quickly.
Yeah,
Pattinson.
It's just
Okay.
Pattinson.
You say it quick. Pattinson.
Like it's spelled. I got you. He plays the Batman, or Vengeance, as he's mainly referred to.
Or Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne. Very emo. Hold on, wait. Very emo.
I think it's like 5% Bruce Wayne, this movie. 5%. Now you look like Toby. Now you look like
You
Toby.
look kind of like Toby.
That's good. You got your favorite character.
Oh yeah, my favorite, the best Batman, because he wasn't one. Yes,
There is a lot more Batman in this movie compared to Bruce Wayne, but I like it that way. I honestly did.
I think it fares better for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think it
personally.
was a great
I think most
Bruce
of the
Wayne movie.
It's not
Both
supposed
Batmans
to
in
be,
general.
because think about it. If you were Bruce into year 2 in this movie and you had that much money and he's neglecting all the Wayne Enterprises side of it and you're that nuts to jump into a suit and fight crime all night, especially in Gotham, which this is a great version of Gotham, by the way, too. Like this version of Gotham's a character in itself. And this is the first movie interpretation of Gotham where I feel like I can smell it as it's on the screen. You know what I mean?
It might have been the theater you were in.
Well, that too. I wasn't in North Jersey.
Yeah, I agree with that because Gotham is just disgusting in this movie, and it's like, why does anybody want to live there? But then it's like, we have Philly and New York and Detroit and Trenton, so it's like same concept, I guess, right?
Right.
Why do people live in these places?
Well, talking about that, actually,
and everybody wants to just completely destroy their own city, which I love about Batman. It's like an ongoing goal, just get on my own city because I'm tired of it. It's like one of these days you're gonna actually do it. You're gonna bring it all down, aren't you?
Mhm. So let's actually talk about that for 1 second, just to diverge. Had Gotham City. We've seen a bunch of Gotham cities. Um, in the Michael Keaton Batman, Gotham City was really good. I mean, that was kind of like the one that like it there was steam everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at it, it's not
Always
great.
steam.
It looks, yeah,
Always
always
steam and fog.
um,
It's a cheap. It's a very affordable effect.
right.
Yeah,
Requires no
it almost
VFX.
looks fake in some shots. Like it's very
It
gothic
does. It
and
looks
animated
very.
almost. But at the time, it was awesome.
Right.
All the sets
Um,
look very plasticky. Very everything looks very
But then
plastic.
then you have like
In
the
the-
Nolan
in those
verse
years.
where it feels like I'm just in a nice city that kind of has some bad areas. Where this one kind of falls in the
Yes.
middle, and it's like perfect there. It doesn't feel like New York. It doesn't feel like Detroit, just like you were saying. And it feels like
Mhm.
Gotham. It doesn't feel like they're filming in a real city, even though they obviously are. But it feels like Gotham.
yes. Which at the end of it, spoiler, they basically turn into an island, which is kind of cool.
Spoiler.
Actually, a very big spoiler. Now that I think about it, that's pretty much the end of the movie. Um,
So this is a
retro
huge cast
spoiler.
too. So while we're talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
cast, because you started on
Yeah,
cast,
Yeah,
I'll
we did.
barrel
Oh,
through some
yeah. So
people. Zoe
we'll go
Kravitz,
through some
Jeffrey
people here.
Wright,
Zoe
Colin
Kravitz,
Farrell.
Colin
Yeah.
Farrell, Paul Dano.
Paul Dano,
Was nice
interesting.
and was
Very
nice
interesting.
and creepy.
Oh yeah,
Your boy
Paul Dano killed
George
it.
Perot.
He killed it too. The cast from A to Z was great.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Pattinson was
a
great as
good-
Batman.
It was a very well-rounded cast.
He was great as Batman. Zoe Kravitz was great as Selena, as like a priest, like Catwoman Selena. Like I liked that the suit looked cheap. Like you know what I mean. Like everything about her, like she was vulnerable, but also very independent. You know what I mean. And they weren't just going for one or the other. Paul Dano, man. I remember when I first heard about this movie when Matt Reeves like was announced as a director and co-writing it, that they were going to do 7 with Batman. Sign me up for that.
Right.
Instantly, sign me up for that. So you have like it feels like 7 in a lot of scenes, and then it feels like obviously Zodiac, inspired by the Zodiac killer from real life, and that's the cool part about this movie because if there was a Batman movie that feels like it could exist in our world, like in real life, it's this.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because the Zodiac thing really happened, so it almost gives you, vibes that it could happen in real life because that did happen in real life with the riddles, with the ciphers, with obviously the costume is highly inspired by it. It's basically the same thing, just dark green.
Right.
Yeah, the cast was great.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What I liked about it was they gave Batman like a real puzzle to solve in a sense. You know what I mean? Like he's the greatest detective. In some of the other movies, there wasn't really much of the detective aspect of it. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
And I think it
another
lends itself to a thriller. That
Absolutely.
type of movie.
It's like
It
a
builds tension.
horror-esque
Mhm.
drama thriller / action movie, all just kind of bunched into one.
Yeah.
I
And a
wish
lot of
he
people are
wasn't.
complaining about. A lot of people are complaining about the length of the movie and how it's slow, but you needed it to breathe for that whole world's greatest detective aspect. Finally getting a dark noir detective story out of the world's greatest detective. And I was more than thrilled about that. Because just like you said, and like even like the Nolan movies, they kind of do like a little bit of detective stuff here and there, but it'll be gone before the scene's over. And Batman's just beating up someone else, which is cool too, but I wanted the whole detective aspect of it, and we finally got it.
I will say that I wish like he didn't solve every riddle so quickly. Like
But he
Jeffrey
didn't. He
Wright
stumped him a few.
Jeffrey Wright would say something. He'd be like, blah, blah, and he's like, oh wow,
Right.
you're so smart. Like
Right.
I played the Arkham video games, and that shit's not easy. Okay, my Batman takes a long time to figure out these puzzles. I'm constantly hitting the detective mode to find where the wire's going.
Right. Yeah.
There's Robert Pattinson's Batman. He's good. Like he solved every riddle. Like
But he
written
was
ones,
stumped
they're-
sometimes. He was stumped a little bit here and there. He
Yeah,
just
for like
figured
a second, he just like looks blankly somewhere, and then he's like, vengeance. It's this word, a chupacabra. And they're like, wow, this guy's so smart, but he looks creepy, so he shouldn't handle the evidence. But he's wearing gloves. It's fine.
He's wearing gloves. I like that.
It's funny. There were some great one-liners. Yeah, honestly, like Robert Pattinson surprised me a lot because I was expecting a dumb voice to come out, and there wasn't, because I just have that vision of Christian Bale. Stupid.
I love those
Batman.
movies, but his voice just gradually got worse.
I'm so glad that he didn't do a voice like this. He didn't have to change his voice really at all. Like, it was just a little deeper from Bruce, which is fine. Like, it doesn't need to be a giant jump from one character to the other. Like, it's fine.
I was fine with his voice too, how it wasn't, but it was really cool how he almost didn't use his voice sometimes. Like, like, remember what are we jumping into spoilers or?
Yeah.
Spoiler. Yeah, Dane already dropped one, so whatever.
Well, like when like he's in like crime scenes and someone's like, "You can't be here. What are you doing?" And he just and the guy's like, "Oh, go ahead."
Looks.
You know what I mean? Like Pattinson did a really good job of
his
body language, where he didn't even have to speak. So
a lot of nonverbal action. Yeah. Well, there's some great scenes where there's just looks between characters, especially with Selena Kyle. That one scene where he's like figuring out what's going on. He realizes that she knows something just by looks. There's no dialogue. It's just looks between the characters, which is really smart.
In the iceberg lounge scene where like he meets her and she's like, she walks in serving the penguin. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, she clearly has more information. They just they just exchange looks, and most of the time that stuff would be like very on the nose. Like, I heard of her. I know where she is. She's my roommate. But this was just like
right.
Look. I caught that look. I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna stalk this woman. Like there's a lot of great nonverbal acting in this film, which is good.
And his body language and his walk, like in that opening reveal where you just heard like the footsteps coming,
the boots,
you're like a horror character like coming
was
down.
Dialed up.
His feet were like really heavy.
I love that.
Yeah. His feet were really heavy. Every time he walked through a room, you just heard.
Let's talk about the length, though. Dane, how was the length for you?
It was a little bit too long, I think.
I think I'm in the same boat, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit of the Selena Kyle stuff probably could have gone. It seemed like they had like 4 conversations of them on top of a building at sunset. You know what I mean? Like,
best time to meet. Looks great. Looks great on film. Best time to meet. Golden hour. You got to have that conversation then.
But if they were to cut the rooftop scene, that was the whole Falcone is my dad scene, which is straight from the Long Halloween comics. Yeah, straight from the Long Halloween comics. That's the twist in Long Halloween.
I agree. The movie's very self-indulgent, and I'm glad that DC gave Matt Reeves the right to make the film that he wanted, because I feel like the biggest problem DC Warner's had is cutting films down or away from directors. I think that's been their kryptonite, is literally taking the films away from the director. So I definitely think Reeves had his way with this film, which is good. But there are some moments we could probably trim this down. There's some big exposition dumps in the middle of the film where characters literally tell each other backstories, which is fine. We have to be caught up. But like between Alfred and Bruce, there's some long exposition dumps of like, this is your history, Master Wayne. And we're going to do it on shot, reverse shot.
Like he doesn't know it.
Yeah, we're going to do it through shot, reverse shot, which is fine. But yeah, it's funny because watching it, I have this moment stuck in my head where he reaches into the cage with the bat, and it's like a 3-minute shot. He's like, reaching.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Reaching. Is he going to get it? Oh, the letter's up there. Is he going to get it? No. Oh, there's the bat. The bat's getting close. Fucker, he just reach in and grab that shit. You're used to fucking people jumping you. Grab that letter and get out. Like the tension was so funny.
Scared of that?
It was like, he's getting closer. He got the letter. Will you get it? And then closes it. It's like, oh, it's after 3 minutes. But no, I mean, it's 3 hours. It's 45 minutes of previews, 3-hour movie. It's a lot to ask, I think, but I think overall it's worth it. The length is worth it, especially the end. I think the finale, the final showdown, is so good that it's definitely.
Yeah, that was pretty good actually. The only thing that confused me about the end of the movie was just this moment. No,
The Proud
no.
Boys. The Proud Boys coming to fight Batman.
No, because I actually kind of like that aspect of it. It was when like it was after everything floods in Madison Square Garden or Gotham Square Garden, which is which looks exactly like Madison Square Garden.
Well, it probably is Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Pretty much it.
And he like sees a transformer, so like instead of like figuring out like a way to do it, he grabs a cable and swings over it, then he cuts
I
himself.
thought that
And I'm
too.
sitting there going, I'm like, why is he doing this?
Smartest man in the world.
Right?
Well, there's one.
Wouldn't he just throw the batarang and just cut
There's
it
got to
down?
be a better way of doing it than the way
He's
he
like,
did
I
it.
will sacrifice myself. Vengeance.
Right.
Well, he just got
Such
like
a great
a
shot
bullet.
to him though.
He just got a bullet to the head. It ricocheted off him. He has all that
That's
true.
adrenaline pumping through him that he.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it was
the-
also
the
a way for
juice.
them to show the
Right.
battering bat chest plate thing more probably.
Well,
toy sales.
I kind of like that they did it. They showed it.
It would have been
like,
cool if he threw it though too.
Yeah,
Right.
but like they kind of didn't even need to bring it back though. Like, I mean, like they didn't do any like utility belt stuff because that was in a sense his
That's
utility
true.
belt. You know what I mean? So I kind of liked
The
where
string
he was
from the
like,
utility belt.
where was?
The string from
Oh,
no, I
from
mean
the
that's like
first-
a
yeah,
staple.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like, how does that work? There's no
Hold
way
on a
it's
second.
pulling you up. Can we talk about how many bullets this guy gets? Holy shit.
Oh
How
yeah,
many
he gets
bullets
like
Batman
a bunch of
takes?
shots.
There's
to
like
the chest. He even
3,000
has
shots.
the bullet bounces off his cowl.
I mean, he gets like shotgunned, he gets machine gunned, he gets every type of bullet throughout this film. It's impressive, but that's one
Still don't
hell
shoot
of
him in
a
the
suit.
face.
That's one. He's got a glass jaw. He can't break that jaw. No, but I like that though, that he was more vulnerable than any other Batman other than I guess Bane and old man Batman Christian Bale, which I still
Right.
despise that storyline. But
I have my gripes with it too.
yeah, it just
And that was another
It's
good
like
thing.
the-
That movie,
it's
you
like,
had to wait
oh,
like
I'm 40
45
now.
minutes to finally get a Batman shot. This movie, boom, the opening Riddler scene
Right away.
happens. They have that awesome
Yeah.
like horror scene when he's behind the mayor and kills him,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. But then it jumps right into Bruce, narrating himself, which is right out of the Year One comics too. And it feels like it's the closest you're going to get to like comic book bubbles in the movie, where he's
Yeah.
saying, doing this for 2 years, it might be a lost cause. And it just seems like he's not really making a difference. Crime is up. And then you get the awesome gang scene where like he fights the gang scene. But
yeah, that was cool.
I'm happy we got Batman right off the jump. It didn't have to wait.
Right.
It wasn't like Batman scene 20 minutes into the movie or something.
You know what would have put this movie over the top for me though? Honestly, making it R-rated. Make it
Yeah.
R-rated Batman. Because I think some of those scenes could have been better, especially with the Riddler. I think you could have made this film even creepier and more like a David
agree.
Fincher film. Since I'm
I
a
agree.
huge Fincher fan, you almost needed
Yeah, I
that
am too.
extra little edge
Right.
of creepiness. Because like the killing scenes are great, but like you get the shot of Paul Dano going, and it cuts, and then it's like out of focus, and then the weapon flies, and it's like, well,
Right.
they didn't really kill him. I wanted to see somebody's head get bashed in. You know what I mean? Like if we get that
The thumb thing
R-rated,
was cool
we're gonna
though. The
see-
thumb thing was cool.
Yeah, we're gonna get like the real good gore. You're gonna get.
I chuckled.
love to
I
see-
chuckled at Thumb Drive. I have to admit.
Thumb drive.
Thumb Drive.
That was good. That was pretty clever. Thumb drive. Yeah. No, but I just wish you get like Batman like just to the fullest because it's creepy enough, but it's like just shy of like, because if you really know David Fincher stuff, his stuff is kind of disturbing,
Yeah.
Hell, even Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is really disturbing, those films. So to really knock it out of the park for me, I would love to see this film as an R-rated film and see Batman kind of, break an arm or two. I know he's very like not so violent, no guns, as he says,
Right.
and then get shot
Well,
100
I
times.
mean,
But
they
I would
tried
love to
that.
see it a little bit more.
They
No,
tried a
I'm
little
not saying
bit
he
of
should
that.
shoot people. I'm not saying he should shoot people, but I would
Oh.
love to see him like break an arm. I'm not saying I don't want Batfleck back. No way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We had Batfleck.
No way. No way. No way.
The only thing I liked
Batfleck.
about Batfleck was the instead of him doing a voice, he had the voice modulator thing, which was really
The voice
cool.
modulator is
You know
still
what
my
I mean?
favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's
auto
definitely
I think
the,
it's the
that's
best
definitely
choice.
the way to do it if you think about it.
I mean, it makes sense if you have all that gear anyway. Like you
Right.
would engineer something like that, to disguise yourself.
What
While we're
was
talking
different?
about spoilers,
Yes.
I'm gonna jump for you. Honestly, I love the scene with the interrogation scene with Dano and Pattinson towards the end of the film when it seems like the Riddler knows that he's Batman. I really wish they had gone. Yes, I really wish he had gone all the way with that and actually knew he was Batman, because that really was a good twist for me. And then they were like, there's that moment when Bruce realizes he doesn't know, and he's like, "Oh shit, yeah, no, it's not me. Yeah, oh yeah, that guy, yeah."
His whole
Yeah,
body
yeah,
language
yeah.
changes. He's kind of like
Yeah,
this
he's like,
in
"Oh."
that scene. Then as soon
Yeah.
as he figures out that, he's like, "Okay, I'm back.
He's
What's up?"
like,
What did you
I gotta
do?
change my pants. I gotta change my pants. Yeah, punching the guy. But I really wish that he'd already known who he was. That someone connected it. I wish that, because hell, they grew up together basically.
I think he will figure it out because they're actually doing they're doing 2 HBO Max
Which I
shows.
think is
They're
a
doing
great plot.
Penguin show, and they're doing an Arkham show. So I think he
Which
will
I
figure it
love
out.
as
Arkham
well,
show
yeah.
is going to be good. That's
Oh,
going
yeah,
to
when
be.
you-
I hope
That's
that's
the-
really good.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Wright is great. He was fun as James Gordon. I like him a lot.
Mhm.
Oh, you know what? He was great, man.
From-
There's always been a dynamic in the movies that they haven't captured properly in the comics. It always feels like they're working together, and when they're actually more like partners in the comics. This one, it felt like they were actually partners, where they were getting friction from the rest of the Gotham City Police Department. But Jim's just like, no, I'm vouching for him. He's going to be here, helping him sneak out. That whole scene where
that was cool. The punch.
just punched me in the face was great.
You could have pulled your punch. I did.
I did.
You did that. You full force.
He's looking at him all tough, and he's like, just go down the hall. First on the right, just punch me in the face.
That's a good
That was
Jeffrey
awesome,
Wright,
though.
because he does that thing all the time where he just kind of goes down here, and that's why he's the Watcher.
Yeah, I loved him from Westworld. Actually, that's where I first.
Yeah, he was
I
Westworld.
remember.
Well, he was in Bond. He was the American
Yes.
guy in the
Yes.
Daniel Craig movies.
Yes,
I don't know if I ever remember him before those movies, though. I don't think I ever saw him in anything.
I don't think so either. What do we
all right,
think
let's go.
about
Who?
Penguin?
Penguin.
Or
I was
Colin?
not disappointed in the Penguin. I really thought it
That
was
was
going.
impressive. That I was
Yeah.
impressed of what they did with Colin Farrell.
You
Yeah,
couldn't even
Every now
tell
and
that
then
was
I'd hear
Colin
a
Farrell.
word. Every now and then I'd hear a word sneak out that was kind of Colin Farrell-y, but other than that, I would have no idea that it was him under
Yeah.
there. Like, holy hell, the amount of make. I would like to see how much time he had to spend in the makeup chair, because Jesus, dude looked nothing like Colin Farrell at all. Like,
If we're
they could've
talking
probably
about
cast someone
him,
else.
let's talk about the Batmobile scene. Dude,
All right,
straight
I have-
chills.
Pretty bad.
I
pretty
have,
bad.
I have things to
Hills.
talk
the
about.
sound,
with
the
Batmobile.
sound design.
Yeah, I
The
saw it in
Batmobile was not
IMAX.
ergonomically.
I did too.
No.
So
I was nice enough to get this.
engine.
My IMAX. IMAX gave me this.
Oh, I didn't get a comic book. I went to
You
a
got
shit
chipped.
IMAX. I did. I went to a crap Northfield Tilton Road crap one.
I'm sure it's
The Batmobile is great because it's something that you can really picture, a rich guy and his butler putting together an abandoned train
Mhm.
station. You know what I mean? Like throwing a jet engine in this old muscle car. And when that thing is revving up, when the Penguin's like looking for him, hey vengeance. And then you see that thing
That
is
was awesome.
revving up.
Mhm.
Chills, straight chills.
The jet engine.
Greatest
on the back of it.
like chase, like vehicle chase scene I can remember in a very long time.
Although, shouldn't he have caught him in like a half a second with the jet? The jet
With
propeller
a jet on the back of his car. Well,
He should have
so-
caught him instantly. There's no chase. It's literally like 2 seconds. I'm right next to you because my car is
that's
racing
kind of-
fast.
There was
that's what I
traffic,
liked
dude.
about
There
it,
was
'cause
traffic.
There's traffic.
And then he flies over anyway to the ramp, the convenient ramp. Thank God
That
for
was a
that.
convenient ramp. That was a
Yes.
convenient ramp.
I was reading a little bit about the Batmobile and how they made it, and it's all very fake. I mean, it's fake. Like they used. So apparently, they made a couple of V8 powered ones, like actual car, functional cars, and then they made an electric one. So, but it all just, it looks and sounds like crazy. But
Batman's going green. Batman's going green.
Batman's going green, right?
Electric Batmobile. I like that. Was that Corvette that he rolls up in at the funeral?
So about that Corvette, I know a little bit about that Corvette. That is very special.
I heard some stuff too. Yeah, somebody was telling me about this. Go ahead.
That is what's called a split window. So a 63 split window is the first year of the mid-year Stingray. It's the first Stingray, so to speak. So what's special about that one is they only made them for that year and then the following ones. Now, there's other histories with that car, though. What do you know about it?
No, I was just, because I was talking with a buddy about it, because he was a big car guy, and he was like obsessed about it.
Yeah, those are very
awesome
those
that
are
car's
very
in the
special.
film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you were just a filthy rich guy, you would want one of those.
You know what I mean? It makes sense. It was good. Yeah, that was cooler than him rolling up in a Lamborghini, as cool as it is to see, Batman roll up in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or whatever else he rolls up, Maserati, whatever he rolls up in. I like the classic look for, Bruce Wayne. I dig that,
Well, I think by doing it that way, that car says a lot about the character that they made for Bruce Wayne in this movie, because he's very different than, say, the Bruce Wayne that's in the Nolan movies, because he is what I think of when I think of Bruce Wayne in like the Nolan movies. I think of a playboy, a guy who has created the character of Bruce Wayne to be a douchebag that everyone hates. And the reason why he's done that is because how could he be Batman? You know what I mean? Yeah. How could he be Batman if that's the guy that everyone knows?
It's his real mask.
Right.
Yeah, it's his mask.
As opposed to the brooding guy that no one sees and is a recluse and drives around in a black car and wears black clothes. Like, could he be the Batman? Maybe.
If he was in public more, you'd probably figure it out.
Right.
I love that people still thought he was like a celebrity.
You don't have to be Ra's al Ghul to figure it out.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned the car, how in other versions, Bruce is always like, buying a Lamborghini or Maserati, like you guys said. This car almost feels like it was a car that Thomas Wayne probably had. And it was left over and everything he, you know what I mean? Like everything that his dad owned that he got when he was killed, that's probably something that his dad had. And he's not thinking about buying a $100,000 car or anything fancy like the Playboy Bruce would, because he's not Bruce right now. It's not the Bruce that we all know anyway. He's Batman even without his mask on, because Batman, the cowl is his face. He hasn't developed the Bruce character that we all know that's actually fake.
Yeah, that's a good.
I love that he's still like a celebrity in this film, though. Like every time somebody sees him, oh my God, it's Bruce Wayne, and he's like, fuck, and he just like puts his head down. God damn, somebody
don't look at me again. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
But like people, really excited when they see him. Oh, it's Bruce Wayne. Holy shit! And he's like, no, guys. Come on, I'm here for a funeral, guys.
Exactly right. We're here.
Come on.
Well, he wasn't even. I think it was cool. He doesn't care that much that he literally says he's like, oh, I'm not even going for the funeral. I'm just going because serial killers like to watch their own work and can't avoid going to the funerals. That's the only rean why he's there, just to see if the Riddler's going to pop up, which he does.
He does.
That's the only reason why he's there. He's not even there to like show respect. He's just pretending and putting on an act for the people that are there in attendance.
Well, who was the funeral for again? I don't remember who
that was for the mayor. Was it for the mayor? Was it for the it was for the mayor. And that's when the district attorney has the phone taped to his hand and the car drives through.
Peter Sarsgaard.
Yes, Peter Sarsgaard's
got the
he popped in for a second.
That was a good scene.
And then popped out.
That was a good scene. There's a lot. Everybody was corrupt at the police department. Everybody's just at the strip club.
Everyone was corrupt.
Everybody's just except James Gordon. He's a good guy. He's good. He's really good. So let's talk about costumes.
Mm-hmm.
The Riddler costume. What do we think?
I love it.
I have some duct tape down in the basement. Probably I can make one.
I was gonna say I think we could make that, but
oh yeah, well that's the point.
I'm not. Is that something from the comics? Does he look like this?
No.
Does it look like? Is that how he looks like? I was just curious because I don't know.
I mean, it's
recently
Zodiac.
It's definitely Zodiac. Even the symbol right here, it's literally just the Deadshot or like the aiming logo, but just a question mark in it.
It did look a little thrift store to me, but I wasn't expecting him to look like, question mark pajamas like Jim Carrey.
That wouldn't have worked in this world.
No, and I don't
disagree. I
mind
think it would have been great.
The BDS it might be even more terrifying. He's in like question mark leggings. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Yeah, like the BDSM Leatherface thing was like, after a while, I was like, okay, like could be cool if he had like a slightly different look, but I get it. It's supposed to be, creepy as hell. It's just interesting to me because I was watching Dark Knight not long before this, and it's funny how many similarities there are in the movies in terms of the villains. Yeah, Matt Reeves definitely is inspired a lot by what Nolan did with Joker, just the way he uses like the technology, like the streaming, the cell phone, that type of stuff, that technology to like create more horror. And it's done a lot in this film too. It's very effective, I think. And the social media, like he has his own following, which I think is fun. That whole scene with, oh, thanks guys for the information about the explosives.
Right, I love that. I love that. I was
like, oh my god, that's great.
So much.
That's what I loved about Paul Dano's Riddler. Is that like I remember there was like a chuckle or two the first time he like turns around and you see his face in the cafe scene. But that's the coolest part about him. He doesn't look like he's a serial killer. He looks like he can be like your neighbor. You know what I mean? Like he just looks like a normal dude with
the
glasses.
Switch between his characters was great, and the fact that he thought him and Batman were like working together was great. Like that whole dynamic was really cool.
Me and you were supposed to be partners.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome
really
because
clever.
if you look at it, they both have a theme of vengeance in the movie, in this one, right? You have Bruce's whole theme is I'm getting vengeance on the people that are destroying my city because of my vengeance on my family being killed and corrupt in the city. Then you have him wanting to get vengeance over the way he was treated at the orphanage, the way he was treated growing up, and you see the arc where one of the followers is unmasked in the third act, and he says, "I'm vengeance," and then you have the narration at the end where Bruce or Batman realizes that vengeance isn't going to solve anything because you can't change the past. I got to be better. I got to, show up for my city. So you almost have that arc of vengeance that like
parallels.
Yeah.
The parallels.
Because on paper, they do have the same mission. They're after criminals. They're after the corrupt. Just he's murdering people with a carpet tool, and Bruce is trying to, lock him in Arkham.
Even it's funny because even the shots of them, creeping on people are the same. Like in the beginning, Riddler uses that, those goggles to look at the mayor, and then later Batman's using the same type of look to look at Selena in her apartment, and it looks the same. Like it looks like either character could be doing, because it's done very purposely, obviously, to mirror their parallel storylines, which is very cool.
That scene was really cool because I like how they how he's like explaining everything to him, and when he figures out that this is why I was going after Bruce, because of Thomas Wayne, because of his shady business with Thomas Wayne, and then you see the Arkhams and you see the Waynes, two of the founding families, and there's a Batman comic called Hush, and one of the reporters on there, his last name is Elliot, and Hush's name is Thomas Elliot, and then you literally see Hush pop up on the screen, so that was definitely an Easter egg for that.
Right, yeah.
But I'm excited if they go into the Court of Owls. The Court of Owls, I don't know if you guys know, it's all these founding families from the city that are controlling everything behind the scenes. They're like creepy with like tuxedos and like this like emotionless owl mask. And the Arkhams and the Waynes were doing that way before Martha and Thomas. So I hope they're kind of going that way. Pattinson even kind of let it slip in an interview that he's like, oh, the Court of Owls might be coming. And like Dan was like, you're not supposed to say that. So hopefully they're going that way, because that could be really cool.
Did you guys know this? That I'm sure you could figure it out. But Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne was actually inspired by Kurt Cobain. I was like, I
could see that.
Wow, that's not the music. I mean, gives it away, I think, more than anything, because that theme is used.
Yeah,
the Nirvana theme is used twice.
Nirvana song.
Twice in the movie, Something in the Way. Nirvana is like one of my favorite bands, so I was so happy when they released the trailer and that song was in it.
Tickled.
And then it tickled again, chills. And then it made it to the score twice.
You're losing your shit.
I was
It's
sitting there like,
interesting.
this is awesome.
Well, it's interesting because honestly, Kurt Cobain, he was such a bizarre, famous person, but he actually is sort of Bruce Wayne in a lot of ways, which is kind of interesting. No, he's not a
That's why
superhero. Just
I
the
agree.
way
It was
he's
an
such a
interesting choice.
recluse. Yeah, just because he's such a recluse and very private person, hated the spotlight in a lot of ways. I think that's kind of interesting. Not who I'd expect to mirror a character actor, but it's a cool take.
It's definitely a cool take.
Here's one of the confusing things I have just in terms of this universe in general is like before I'm sure they just did this before your film too. Like they have the highlights for 2022 of all the DC stuff coming out.
Yes.
And it's like they show Aquaman and Black Adam and Flash and all this other stuff, and then they show like the Batman, and it's like, so are these separate universes now? Do these exist in different places? Like I don't see how these franchises connect anymore because obviously we have no more Batfleck, and he's part of that.
Yeah, I think
world.
that
So it's like,
Flashpoint is probably gonna answer a lot of that. Because if you look at it from that standpoint of the Justice League movies and the Aquaman movies and the Wonder Woman movies and stuff like that, in a sense that's just a pocket universe. In a sense, this is a pocket universe.
Yeah.
So
it's the multiverse of DC.
Yeah,
But
Reeves already stated that this movie is going to be completely by itself, and I think that works better because you have like the fantastical side of like the Justice League, where
far more grounded. Yeah.
Yes. This Batman would not work in the Justice League.
It's a shame that Joker's obviously already cast because honestly, like this movie felt like it belonged in that same universe that the Joker just came out in. You know what I mean? Like those films feel like they can exist in the same. The tones are very similar. I know they already have a different Joker.
Right.
Spoilers.
Oh man, how great would that have been?
I just think they cross over so well, those universes. They look so well together. Obviously, the stories are different because of the connections with the characters, I think, between Joker and Bruce from Joker's film. But who knows? I'd love to see Joaquin, though.
Well, you know what? Let's jump into that real fast. I actually had one little nitpick with this movie as a whole, and that was it. It's not that I didn't support the casting choice. It's if you saw the Eternals, it's Barry Keoghan, which he's really good at playing creepy guys. He has the right face for it.
Who was he in the Eternals?
One of the boring guys, because I hated that movie. Everything about it.
Well, it's very specific because it wasn't very good. It's one of those movies you won't have to see again.
I support the casting choice. I support the casting choice, but I think that scene was unnecessary. I think the movie had a perfect arc of beginning to end where you didn't need the possibly coming next in this series little cliffhanger at the end. I think the scene was cool. Yeah, the scene was cool, and it kind of let you know that the Riddler could come back because the riddle is what is it? It's what's better to have? What is it? Too many of them, but one is I forget the riddle, but the answer is a friend, and he ends up saying that Gotham loves a comeback story, and they start laughing together. So I hope they just put them two in the Arkham series, and we don't even get another Joker movie. We don't need another Joker movie. We have the Joaquin Phoenix one. We have the Joaquin Phoenix
one. You're going to see, right? Because aren't they in Arkham?
Yes, they're in Arkham.
Right.
There was actually, I can't wait till Matt Reeves releases this, but he already said there was another scene with them that was cut. When he's going to profile the Riddler in that interrogation scene, he walks by his cell and he makes a comment saying that, today is our anniversary. So you kind of get the vibe that they've interacted before, and Batman obviously threw him in Arkham, and he kind of messes with him while he's interrogating the Riddler. You don't need it though.
Was that in The Killing Joke? He says that in The Killing Joke, right?
Well, there's
Did you say something about his anniversary in the Killing Joke?
Yeah, when they're sitting down playing cards.
Yeah, it's a shame because I really do like Joker. I mean, I know it's not everyone's favorite film, but I love the tone of it and how disturbing it is. It fits very well for that character because for a while I didn't think anybody would be able to beat Ledger, and Joaquin's is just a different, interesting take on it, which is cool to see. Yeah, because we're getting so many different
take on it. I love his take on it. That movie too.
It's so creepy. It's so, and it gives him so much good backstory. It gives him so much motivation that helps the character a lot. You can sympathize with him. Not so different from Riddler in this film, which I think is sorely needed from a lot of the villains in the DC universe. Normally, they're just the fantastical creatures that we know nothing about that want mystery boxes and shit. So it's cool to see characters with tangible goals and wants and stuff. So
yeah,
that's why I feel like we related to the Riddler in this movie, because he had the same goal as Batman.
mm-hmm.
It just, kind of went off the wrong path.
I think it gives a sensible backstory to guys like the Riddler and Catwoman. Like, the reason why they are the way they are is because of the city. Like, the old saying, yeah. I mean, a lot of people would say, like, the reason why all the supervillains exist is because Batman exists. In this story, and in like the Joker movie, the standalone Joker movie, Batman, whether or not Batman existed, these characters would exist.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a result of the city and the corruption and this and that and the other thing, as opposed to like in the Nolan movies, in a sense, the Joker specifically is a result of his craziness, is the result of Batman existing. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of why the city is as important of a character in a sense. So I think it's blown up near the end.
So
I do love a good explosion.
They actually did that. There's Batman 0 Year. It's a recent story, a Scott Snyder book. And the Riddler, it's one of the first times you see him where he's not like that wacky question mark tights guy, and he's taken more seriously. But at the end, he literally does the whole blow up all the levees and let the water in to flood the city.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. Definitely got vibes from that.
Is this the best Batman?
Yes,
question. $1 million question for either of you. I know it's not Dane's. Right. I can tell he's a big Keaton fan.
All right, it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite because my nostalgia goes for Keaton. But as far as overall, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you take Ledger out of The Dark Knight and it's just looking at Bale's Batman interpretation, Pattinson is hands down 20 times better.
It's still Dark Knight for me, especially just watching it recently too, comparing it against this movie. Dark Knight is just so tightly done too. It's 2.5 hours. I know I keep bringing up runtime, but it's such a tightly woven film. It's like there's not a moment wasted in that film.
Well,
and the opening
sequences, that movie, it moves.
Does. The opening sequence is so freaking good, setting up his character and on a run. It just hits the ground running. Very little exposition in that film. It's just it's just bang, bang, bang. You're going forward. It also has the advantage of being the second film, which you've already established Christian Bale as Batman. You have to spend less time building up his character in a sense. You can play more. So I'm curious to see what happens next with Pattinson's character, because I think, as far as first Batmans go in terms of movies, absolutely this film is much better than Batman Begins in that regard. Where Batman Begins, not a bad film, but definitely a little stumbly and a very slow beginning for that film. What's your favorite, Dane?
Favorite? Man.
Don't tell me Batman, Robin.
I mean, nice to meet you.
It's going to be an endless winter here in Gotham.
Are we ever going to get a Mr. Freeze, a good Mr. Freeze?
Probably. It's rumored that the next one is supposed to be Freeze or Quarter Owls. Quarter Owls and Mr. Freeze. Hopefully the next one. That's what's rumored.
I think that since the movies have gone much more realistic isn't the right word, but just grounded.
Grounded.
The story of Freeze and stuff is really good. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I did like about this movie a lot, actually, was it was a very modern version of Batman. You know what I mean? Like, he had to worry about social media. He had to worry about the influence of a crazy person on very easily susceptible people. And that stuff that we deal with all the time, you know what I mean? Where you get these personalities in the public eye. Politics is the easy one to look at because people go nuts with it. But it's like your followers. I mean, look, we have 1,000 subscribers, but follower is a better word when you think about how crazy some of those people are. And they even pointed out, it's like he had, the Riddler has 500 followers, but they're fucking nutballs. You know what I mean? So,
and only 50 of them showed up at the end, which is unfortunate.
Right.
I was like, that's not 500 people.
No.
That's not 500 people.
The mayor takes a rifle shot to the chest in that scene.
I was gonna say, are they really gonna kill the mayor?
No. If you watch the the scene where he pulls the flare and he's like walking them all out in the water, you see her. She's like the third one to climb over a barrier, and she's just walking fine. You got a rifle shot to the chest. You should not be walking.
Strong.
That's the one that makes you be carrying her out.
Well,
that should be carrying her out.
Bullets hit different in Gotham. Okay, bullets hit a little different.
I'm convinced that the only reason why they did that whole thing with him in the water and grabbing her and walking away was so they could do that awesome overhead shot of him walking through the thing with the flare and then right.
It's a trailer shot.
Well, that's the sign of hope for the end. And the trailer shot, yes. Sign of hope for the end, though. You like when you have him, he's carrying out the girl at the end where he's like giving like the narration, and he goes to put her down, and she like grabs his arm because people in Gotham are finally starting to trust him and believe in him.
He's like, no, get off.
Beacon of hope. Yeah, get off. I got more people.
Please get off. I'm hungry. It's breakfast time.
I've been here for like 14 hours.
I'm really hungry. Can you let go? Please.
Well, Little Caesars was a sponsor. You probably went and got a bat calzone after that or something. That pizza's fucking ridiculous, by the way. Did you see it?
Free bat calzone. Yeah, that's great. I haven't seen it.
Folded.
That's amazing.
It's like just a pizza. It's folded into a bat.
Yeah, it's like another pizza pie. Like that's like the wings, and then it's just a calzone in the middle with the fucking cow over here. It's ridiculous. It looks like Batman is eating a calzone at the end.
It's just dripping down his bat suit.
Right.
I'm definitely excited to see more though in this like universe in the world that Matt Reeves is painting. I think if this movie is any indication, I think we got a lot more positive things and great stories in store.
I love Detective Batman idea. It's just something we've not really gotten. Yeah. Which is what makes me really happy is finally getting Detective Batman.
It really makes me excited for a Arkham show. You know what I mean? I mean, just the fact that if they do something like an Arkham show, I'm figuring it's like the games and the books, where it's a reason to get all of the bad guys, the whole rogues gallery together. So if this is their take on the Riddler and the Joker and Catwoman, what would be the Matt Reeves lens of, I don't know, Killer
Freeze
Croc
or Mad Hatter or Killer Croc.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Something or oh God, what's the big clay guy? Clayface. You know what Clayface. I mean, can you do Clayface and have it be and have it work outside of a cartoon? You know what I mean?
Well, he's actually an actor who gets scarred, and he's so just wrecked about his face being messed up and no one's going to like his image anymore. That's why he starts using the cream, and it eventually, becomes a little ridiculous and only works in a cartoon in the comics. But they can go somewhere creepy with that vibe too. I can easily picture Matt Reeves doing something like that, which is a cool point. I never even thought about Clayface until you said that.
Yeah, I mean,
he's very good in the cartoon. He's very interesting in the cartoon.
I'm just trying to think of characters that, despite their wackiness, so to speak, are interesting and endearing. So then how do you do them in a nice, realistic way? Because he did it with the Riddler. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like in the games, the Riddler is interesting in its own way, but the way to do it, obviously, in a detective movie and a noir movie is to make him the Zodiac killer. Obvious. But it's done in a really good way. You know what I mean?
And you brought up the point before how you actually see the perspective of the villains and why they're doing what they're doing. The greatest villains are the ones that you can look at and understand why they're doing it, but they're just going about it the wrong way. And it makes you actually relate with the villain. It's not just, I want money and I want world domination and, every villain like that.
Mr. Freeze is a great example of that.
He is such a tragic story.
Sure.
If you guys have seen the Batman animated series, like Freeze episodes, they're great. Mm-hmm. They are fantastic. Absolutely. And even the Arkham games too. The Arkham games followed that a lot.
Yeah, I do like those Arkham games.
It's got me excited.
I was just playing one last night, actually.
I was like,
I need to replay Arkham City. I
love Arkham City. Arkham Knight is great, other than like the vehicle stuff.
The Batmobile stuff, which is very tedious.
There's so much into it. I was just playing it last night.
They really love
huge amounts of it.
You do that shit. The final fight is in the damn Batmobile. It's like, God, get me out of
the Penguin show coming. We're supposed to be getting like a Goodfellas like / Scarface / Godfather type like take on this. I think they announced it was 8 episodes that are all gonna be rated R2. I'm excited to see Colin Farrell's version of that, just going straight mob. Let's go. Mm-hmm. Sign me up right there.
Well, is he going to do it? Is he going to do that show?
Colin Farrell's going to do it. Yep, Colin Farrell's doing it.
Speaking of which, was it like the police chief that like comes in and he sounds like Vito Corleone? You notice that one character that literally sounds like the Godfather in the film? You know what I'm talking about?
What is he doing here? Why is he here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's exactly it. I was like,
turn around and put your hands up, you son of a bitch.
It's like Vito Corleone is in the film. He's back. I was like, wow, who's this guy? There's no real final confrontation with the main villain in the film, if you think about it, which is really interesting for a superhero movie in general, which I think is a cool change. I mean, it works very well even with that. It just shows you how well Riddler's plan was, actually, that he literally didn't even have to be there. He has that line like, oh, this will be happening while I'm in jail anyway, so it doesn't matter. Which is really cool, though, that he doesn't even really fight him. He doesn't even really get to, other than just yelling at him, he doesn't have really any actual confrontation with him, which I thought was an interesting twist with the film.
That's a great point that you bring that up, because I remember actually in the theater when they did like the reveal of like him being on top of like the Gotham Garden, MSG, whatever you want to call it. The first thing I thought was, I'm like, wait, so they're going to have all these guys dressed as the Riddler, but no final confrontation. And at first, I didn't like it, but then like 30 seconds passed by, and like I was fine with it, because he even says in that interrogation scene, he's like, I'm not going to beat you with these. I'm going to beat you up here. Like, his plan went so well.
His character,
he didn't have to be there. Yeah. The Riddler doesn't beat people with his fists. He beats them with his mind behind the scenes.
Exactly.
And that was perfect.
That was smart. Yeah.
Right.
He's not hitting with the cane. He's not going to hit him with
his manipulation. His manipulation is so good that he had these random followers show up and just do his bidding, which is great. It just shows you the character of the Riddler, and they nailed it.
It's a better type of movie that it's a psychological battle for the character, which is, I think, more interesting than just, we've seen so much brawling and fighting. We've seen that, all that. Dane and I have talked about this before. We've seen so much of that in films that you can't surprise us much anymore with crazy acrobatic fight sequences. It just doesn't, there's nothing we haven't seen yet. You know what I mean?
We didn't need like a big Marvel style CG third act fight fest at the end. You know, like it was a cool action scene, like that whole set piece on top of the garden, but you didn't need the Riddler to be there, like throwing punches with him. Like it was worth it alone when you see him in the cell and all the vans are blowing up, and he's just like boom, boom. It's great.
Yeah, he's from his window. He's saying boom. Actually, my favorite fight scene is in that dark hallway with the machine guns going off,
machine guns showing the only bit of light.
Was really well shot. That was pretty amazing. And regardless if it was realistic or not, it didn't matter. It looked freaking awesome because it was just like,
it's a shame they spoiled it a little bit in the trailer.
They did, yeah.
They did give away too much of that in the trailer. They did.
Yeah. But then again, that did help sell the movie, though. I mean, when you saw that in the trailer, you're like, oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, wow. That was fantastic.
You are right, though. Even in that scene, every thug in Gotham must be like, yo, just shoot him right here. Aim for the symbol. Okay, Tony, let's go.
At least they hit him, though. It's not like a normal Batman movie where they always miss.
Yeah, Stormtrooper style.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think Christian Bale took a single bullet. He got his back snapped, but he didn't take a single bullet in however many years he played Batman. He had knee problems, never took a bullet.
He had knee problems.
He did have a bum knee.
That was a random thing. Was able to solve. Just feel better than ever, Alfred.
Right.
Also, Alfred was cool in this. Was it to believe that Alfred was like the one who trains Bruce, which is kind of a neat.
Yeah, he
Well,
says that. And
he says it.
He's from the
Yeah.
circus.
He's like,
the service.
I trained you to fight. So
I
yeah,
thought it was a
they're probably gonna go
cool.
that route.
right.
And in this
He was less
world,
like a butler.
yeah, I agree with it. In this
Which I
version of
liked.
him, like you don't need like the League of Assassins or the League of Shadows, depending on what source material you're looking at. You don't need like Ra's al Ghul training him. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like I don't know. It doesn't work in this world. It's
No, I
believable
like that he wasn't
his
so.
yeah.
Yeah, he
Believable
wasn't
that
so
Alfred
polished
used to
either.
be special services or secret services, whatever it was,
Yeah.
trained Bruce growing up.
Well, it was cool because he wasn't so polished either. You know what I mean? It's like Christian Bale had that Ra's al Ghul training, so he was like a martial arts expert. You know, whereas this Batman is clearly not a martial arts expert. He's just a brawler, which is like his character, which I think fits so much better in this universe than him just being a finesse martial artist. You know?
Yeah, you
Doing
see him get
Aikido
hit a
and other-
lot. You see
He
him get
does. He
hit a
takes-
lot in the fight scene, which I kind of appreciated. Like he's going on like a brawl with 10 people. Like he's not just owning them all while like
And that
the
would
stuntman
happen.
waits for his cue to come in.
Exactly,
Okay,
and
let's
that
go,
would
let's
and
go.
should happen.
Yeah, he should get
Yeah,
punched. in the
guys,
back
he's
and
actually
punched,
get hit with
like,
bats. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
getting hit. Hey, the video game does it. I get my ass beat all the time. Video games. I know what it's like. Okay, so it's fair.
That's one of the
And
things
he's
I
a
never
little
really...
warning to pop up on his head, like an
Right, yeah.
Stuck it as soon as it comes.
But then when the red one pops up, you don't remember how to do that one.
Yeah, that's the one where you always
forget.
get hit.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
unblockable. You gotta
always
roll.
lose you always lose your multiplier. Fucking
Combo Peter, combo meter.
Yeah.
Speaking of fighting, Batman fighting, that was kind of one of the things that I always kind of disliked about the Nolan movies, which is I know that Batman is meant to be a ninja. Okay, he's trained by the League of Shadows and stuff like that, and the books give you that reason as to why he's such a good fighter. But I always hated that. I always hated the idea of Batman being a ninja. I liked in
Agreed.
Batman versus Superman that Ben Affleck, 6'4", 250-pound, just ground and pound, beat the shit out of people. Like, I mean, that's kind of what I always figured Batman was, which was just like the size of a linebacker, and as opposed to like a ninja. But in this movie, he's skinny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not built like Ben Affleck. He's real skinny. So I guess it makes a little bit more sense. But
No, and I like that too about like using the suits for smartly using the suit to protect yourself.
Right, yeah.
Which makes a smart character. Like, he's not going to go out there like in spandex. He's got to go out there with a real suit. He can't just, because he's going to have to take
Right.
1,000 bullets. So
it has to serve a purpose.
right.
One of the things I really liked, there was a real little moment in the movie, which I liked a lot, actually. And it was when he's escaping lockup. And he's up at the top, and he's going to jump off the building. And he pulls the thing up. And just, you can see in his face, he's like,
Like, oh shit, I'm really gonna do this.
He's like, this could be the worst idea I ever
This is
had.
stupid. Not just like, I've done this 1,000 times. Let's just do
Right.
it.
That could
Just
potentially be the
All
first time he
confidence
ever
is
had to use
gone
it.
in his face, and he's just like,
Yeah. He stops. Whoa.
yeah,
He's like, all right, I had this suit ready for this eventually, but this might be the first time we're seeing it.
yeah,
Well, and when he falls, people like gasped in my theater. They were like, "Oh shit!" Like, because he falls hard too, and
he does
like,
fall hard.
Like,
I love
and
the
it's
fact
good.
that you
It's
get,
like that's a
like-
really cool moment.
You get a shot of him like from the window, and it's just like, but then like when he's coming down to the street, you think he's gonna make it. He just hits the bridge, bounces
He
off a
eats
truck,
it.
and he can barely walk away. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
he hasn't done this before, most likely.
No, it was cool. It was cool to see that like he's still learning, which was neat.
Right.
Yeah.
It's cool to see it unpolished. It was neat to because it makes him more human, which makes him more relatable for us, which makes him a better character.
Yeah.
All smartly done. All good things. Just shorten it just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, I agree
Well,
with you. I think.
But
that
you know
there was
what?
some of the stuff
You were
that didn't
saying
have to be there.
you were saying before about studios interfering. If we had the choice of getting what we got, or Warner Brothers doing the Warner Brothers and interfering and giving us like an hour and 45-minute cut of this movie or something, I'd choose what we got because
No, I agree. I definitely agree with that.
We would be screaming
It
for the
felt-
Reeves cut.
yeah, give us the
The
Reeves
Reeves
cut. It felt organic. It felt like Matt Reeves got to tell his vision. And the only thing that I think might have felt tacked on was the Joker scene. The only thing.
And I bet that was more for marketing than anything. I bet that was more studio being like, we got to tease the next film. It's what Marvel does all the time. Got to make sure we do that.
They're probably like, listen, we're going to give you full control of the entire movie, but there has to be a Joker tease.
Probably.
And I believe that, yeah. Did you hear the original pitch for this film was actually Ben Affleck's script, and Reeves passed on it because it was like a Bond film. It was a Bond Batman film. And Reeves was like, I can't make that film because I don't know how to make that film, so I can't do it. And I guess things worked out for him because, Batfleck is gone and he got to make his film. So
Batfleck's not gone. Batfleck's not gone. So we still have one more to come.
We got Keaton and Batfleck.
Can't wait. Maybe he'll redeem himself somehow. No, I don't put it all on Ben Affleck. I think there was a lot of other.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't the worst.
I don't think he ever got a proper. He didn't ever get a proper film. I think is the problem for Ben Affleck's Batman. I think he was thrown into a movie that wanted to be an Avengers style movie. Right.
Yeah.
Without
we had two proper scenes, like the opening scene of him with the Gotham PD rolling up to that church or whatever it was, which was awesome, and then the warehouse scene at the end. But besides that, it was just like you said, it was like they were trying to do an Avengers movie. His eventual Batman movie probably would have been awesome though, but he was supposed to star.
It was like if we had the proper introduction for him, I think he would have been fine. I think we would have been fine if he had a proper film standalone, but you rush to try and do a franchise, and now they're picking up the pieces.
Did not work well. Yeah.
Because this Flash movie, I don't know,
I got high hopes. Keaton's there. Sign me up. Keaton's there. I don't care what happens in the movie.
Ezra Miller though as Flash is so out of whack. Like the whoever wrote that Flash is so. I don't even know the character that well, but I know he's just kind of annoying. And again, he's not like a scientist at all, isn't he? The character's supposed to be like a smart physicist or something, and you got.
No, he's like
I'm just hungry.
He's a forensics guy.
Yeah, I'm just hungry and I need friends. That's literally his character. And
I have a lot of snacks.
Yeah, I need friends.
I hated him in that movie so much.
I need friends. I'm in. And it's like
I was hoping he would die at the end of that movie. Actually, I'm hoping he would die at the beginning of the movie. Then we never.
No, but you know what? I like Ezra Miller. It's not his fault. I just think somebody was not writing the character.
What else was he in that
I didn't like Ezra Miller's
from that movie.
I didn't like Ezra Miller's Flash in the Whedon cut, but at the end of the Snyder cut, when he's the one who saves them all, and that whole going through time scene, I think
better. It's much better. Much better.
You know what I mean? The Snyder cut definitely saved whatever was ruined.
He's in Fantastic Beasts. He's in Perks of Being a Wallflower. He's in a couple other indie films.
Oh, Perks of Being a Wallflower. I don't remember him in the movie.
He was an indie guy.
I remember the movie. So I guess we kind of had our final thoughts a little bit there. I mean, we both seem to like it. I was saying to Tom before Mike jumped on that usually whenever we have to review these movies, we hate them.
You're drinking. You're already drinking. You're already throwing a couple back. You're like, God damn it. Another review.
Right.
No, this was a good surprise, I think. This was a good surprise for us.
Yeah, I was nervous going in. I had such, this character is one of my favorites personally, and going into this movie, I kept thinking the same thing. Could this be like The Dark Knight, or is it just going to be something with really high hopes and just, bam, disappointment? And I walked out so satisfied, craving for more, multiple times chills in the theater, dude. Just everything about it. I think they nailed it. 9.5 out of 10. I'd give it 9.5 out of 10.
Big fan.
And depending on the day, Dark Knight and this, it's gonna go like that. Some days I like the Dark Knight more. Some days I like this more, which is a compliment. And in itself, it's a compliment just being there in the same league as the Dark Knight.
I mean, Batman Forever doesn't sneak in every now and then.
Hmm? Batman and Robin, Batman Forever do not sneak in. They have the place on the bottom of the list. That's it.
Maybe we'll get them all in this Flashpoint movie. Maybe you'll see.
That would be. They don't have the balls. Okay, they don't have the balls.
Val Kilmer can't even talk. So
if there was a George Clooney cameo and an Arnold cameo, I would just start clapping in the theater.
That would
just stand right up. That would be fun. And I would just start clapping. You thought I was gone? I've been here the whole time.
they, they look at what they did with Spider-Man, what Marvel did with Spider-Man, they're gonna be like, you know what? It's time.
Right. We don't mind being second banana because it still makes us money.
It would make money.
A lot of money. I think that's gonna. I mean, that's gonna get me to watch the Flash movie. Like,
Keaton being in it, yeah.
I mean, like,
for me. I have to do
knowing
The fact that
there's gonna be,
anything
like,
could
that.
happen. Anything could happen in
Right.
there too. You don't know like what version they could show from what universe. You know what I mean? Like there's so many possibilities, and I'm sure there's going to be other cameos that they don't, tease in the trailers.
That's going to get
There's
people to see the film that haven't probably watched a DC type film in years. You know what I mean? People find out that he's in that film. People are going to go, oh shit! Like, people, that's my Batman. I have to see this movie now. That's a
Well, they already
smart marketing.
they already teased him a little bit. I think you see the back of his
I
head
know,
or
I'm
something
saying.
like that.
Yeah, I'm
back
just
of his
saying, like,
head.
that's
And that's
smart,
clearly
though.
the Batmobile underneath. Like he's about to pull off of the tarp. It's clearly the Burton Batmobile.
I think that's
Anton's
smart
first
marketing
Batmobile.
because
Yes, sir. I love that Batmobile.
I have that toy somewhere, I think. Little rubber Batmobile. It's like a dog toy now. You can give it to your dog and it would be an effective dog toy because it's so rubbery. Everything was rubbery plastic back then.
Yeah, I hope when you guys eventually review that movie, I'll also get another invite on that one. I'll be looking forward to that.
Well, since you're the, sort of the Batman expert, so to speak, I think it's only fair.
It's true.
Appreciate that.
That's true. We just bullshit about movies. Every we have to pull in the expert. That's why we brought in like Brenner for the Halloween movie.
It's true. We're just
Callie's a
schmucks that talk about
Ghostbusters
movies
expert.
all the time.
Which
we just bullshit for an hour, so
yeah,
it's cool to have some balance in our reviews.
Right.
Yeah, this is my daily conversation, so this is not a big deal. Usually I talk to people about this and they just like, oh, what about politics and climate control and the weather? I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about Batman.
That was the Batman. We all seemed to enjoy it. We had our little problems with it. I think the general consensus, at least from Mike and I, was that it was a little bit too long. But otherwise, it's good. I would take another one. I think we would all take another one.
Absolutely.
Any last thoughts?
I'm definitely looking forward to more. He announced that they're doing a trilogy at least, and we're getting a couple of different shows. Sign me up for all of them. If they're, in this grounded version that they're doing, and they have the same vibe and the same feel. And the score, by the way, we didn't even mention the score. The score for this
Michael
movie is
Giacchino.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yes, it is incredible. It kind of has like horror vibes to it, and like Danny Elfman vibes to it a little bit. And the score was just riveting. And the part of Nirvana was part of it. Everything about this sign me up for more. This is any
The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back Batman theme.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. You're never gonna watch it the same now. You're like, shit, that's
right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Hater's theme, isn't it?
Dun.
I mean, it works though. It's that menacing.
Sure.
It has that very menacing, foreboding feel to it. It's not so triumphant, which is kind of interesting.
It's got
absolutely looking forward to it.
Love it.
Yeah, I actually really want to see more Zoe Kravitz. Honestly, I really like her in this film, and I'd like to see more of her eventually, or an evolution of her character. I'm sure we're not seeing the end of her, but I'd like to see her back and have more of an arc the next time we see her. You know what I mean? Just see a progression for her character. I think it'd be cool to see her evolve into a full-fledged Catwoman, so to speak, because she's cool in this film. She's fun to watch, and
she steals every scene she's in without like overlapping the main plot and kind of overstaying her welcome. And also a quick fun fact, she was actually, they didn't say what role, but they said it like a day or two ago. She was going for a role on The Dark Knight Rises and didn't get casted because they're not looking for anything too urban. And it's kind of cool that she got put to the side for that movie, and now she's playing Catwoman. Just like, hold my beer, I'm gonna go and play Catwoman.
Right.
I mean, she beats the pants off of Anne Hathaway, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
God, that was.
I would watch Zoe
Anne
Kravitz
Hathaway
beat the pants off of. Off of Anne Hathaway.
I'm sure that's where you meant to go with that one.
Right, right.
Beat the pants off of anything. And on that note.
Yes, yeah, and on that
On
note.
that note.
great nerd enthusiast quote. I would watch Zoe Kravitz beat the pants off of
Pants off
anything.
Anyone or anything.
Anytime.
That'll be down at the bottom, right, Dane? Just, we'll watch anything.
The quote of this review. It's going to be the tagline of this review. People are going to listen to this then.
That'll be part of the thumbnail. Just quote, I'll watch Zoe Kravitz beat the pants off of.
And then you need like a picture, like a Photoshop picture. So Kravitz like punching Anne Hathaway in the pants.
Just punching her in the butt cheek.
We would get a lot of views.
Gold.
Right. Okay. All right. So that has been this month's episode of the Nerd Enthusiast Movie Podcast. Please share and subscribe and like and comment on all of the various social medias that we are on. If you guys have a suggestion as far as a movie for us to see, put it down in the comments below. Won't read them. We just go see the movies we want to go see or that Matt tells us to go see. And then we talk about it.
Just tells us.
Pretty much, Matt just tells us. I think he's keeping all the money from the studios. I really do. I really do. I think that they bring a dump truck full of money to his house every week, and they tell us, right? Just, I mean, it's one.
It's like a
so it's not
cartoon.
that much money, but it's
like
still.
a cartoon.
Yeah. He's sitting there eating breakfast, and then just the dump truck
Brothers
of money is here from Warner Brothers. They don't send checks. But anyway, I have been Dane. I have Tom.
Thanks, guys.
And I'm like,
Thanks for having me again.
Mm-hmm.
nope.
And
Problem.
Mike?
Anytime. Thanks for having me, Dane. I don't think I have a choice though. So. I'm a hostage.
Pretty much. That's been this month's episode. See you later. Bye.